going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bodacious Rant, you birthday boys and girls. I hope everybody's doing well. Sorry for being super creepy, but we are talking about one of the creepiest and honestly best horror movies I think I've seen in recent years, and that is the latest film, Longlegs, starring Nicolas Cage, Nick Cage, however you want to say it. Micah Monroe. We also have the stars of like Blair Underwood, Karen Shipka, Alicia Witt. She's kind of I feel like she's somewhat unknown for a lot of people. I don't think she's in a lot of mainstream stuff, and if she is, good for you. But this is a non-spoiler review, so if you do like the video, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. Also, don't forget to ring the bell if you want to stay up to date on our latest episode drops and catch all the biz with us. And of course, subscribe. We do appreciate you all, and just for those of you who keep going and join on the community, it's always nice. So, so this movie is it's definitely horror, but I would say it's also like mystery thriller, like a detective story in a way, where essentially Micah Monroe is an FBI agent who's assigned to a series of murder-suicides committed by someone known as a Longlegs, and that's played by Nick Cage. And man, it is just such a very tense movie, very just creepy atmosphere. While I haven't seen it, I kind of think the characters are very similar, but I would say it's almost like Silence of the Lambs. I haven't really seen that all the way through, but also the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, just due to some of the themes and stuff behind it. So, forgive me if I haven't seen Silence of the Lambs. I know it's a big one, but other than that, man, this was such a great movie, and I'm bummed because I did have to go to the bathroom in the middle of a pivotal scene. So I was just like, damn it, I got to go see it again. But Bern, what did you think about this movie?
I mean, yeah, coming into that, I was pretty excited for this one. I've never seen any of the previous movies from this director, Oz Perkins, so really didn't know like the quality, like coming into it, like what to expect, But hearing a lot of the buzz beforehand definitely got me a little excited. Even though, let's be honest, a lot of buzz for horror movies before the movie comes out is very overblown, and I get why. You want to sell the movie, get as much butts in seats as possible, but so many times before these new movies do we hear scariest thing you ever seen, one of the most horrifying things to ever happen to you outside of your mom coming at you with a chancla. It's like one of the most terrifying things you'll ever experience. You'll never be the same after this. And it's like, okay, like that doesn't really work for me, but I'm just going to come in hoping to see a movie that kind of gets under my skin. And luckily for me, this was definitely the case. This movie definitely did get under my skin. And yeah, like you mentioned, it's not really like horror in the traditional sense of where it's just like monstrous things popping up at you and scaring you and stuff like that. It's very much more along the lines of much more of a mystery, a thriller, and where the horror comes from is from the dread of it, the atmosphere, the tone, and that was all there in spades in this movie. And that's the type of horror that I really liked, where it feels like you're in a creepy environment for 2 hours, and it's a very oppressive, and you can't get out of it until the movie ends. So I really did enjoy it in that aspect, and I thought Oz Perkins and his cinematography especially, they really nailed it down in the way that they shot this movie. That's the biggest reason why I feel this movie, as scary as it is because there's so much darkness in the frame, and the way that they frame the shots where they have, all the characters very much centered in the screen, and there's all this open space around them. I don't know about you, but I was constantly looking at things in the background where it felt like, oh, there's just like an open door behind the character there. There's a window there. There's all this empty space. There must be something there, and your mind starts playing tricks on you, and that really got to me. And not to mention the score too as well, that playing into the factor where it just feels like you're on this descent into just madness, and I just really dug the entire vibe of this movie.
Yeah, now that you pointed that out, I didn't think about it because I was just so into it, and I was so focused on the characters at that point, just because of their motivations and the way the movie was going. But even there's a couple scenes where the rule of thirds I think was used really well. So like kind of continue your opinion on the cinematography, where I kept trying to look for like, okay, what's gonna go on this corner, and that's the kind of like, because I love, I mean, I don't mind jump scares sometimes. I do hate when movies are overusing it and stuff, but smarter horror like this one, or elevated horror as you will, it sometimes really just like takes you, it really shocks you. This is the first horror movie in a while that I was like, I need to watch or listen to something happy. I can't think about this movie too much just because it was so messed up. Pretty gruesome film too, like not necessarily super like gory, but it kind of was, and just the very satanic themes behind it all was just very trippy. This is, I think, easily one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Nick Cage character ever, because he's just his craziness works so well for this one. Like, I don't even question it. Where other movies, it's like, really, dude, do you have to go this way? It kind of reminded me of the whole SNL thing with him and Andy Samberg. It was just either all the dialogue is whispered or screamed, which this kind of works with it. But not everything was on fire, so it still was a Nick Cage movie. But Micah Monroe, she's been one of my favorite. I would say she's an honorary scream queen because she's been in some horror movies, but not consistently. My favorite movie with her is still It Follows. That was the first movie I ever saw her in. And she was in an interview recently that I saw randomly online where it was like, this movie's going to kind of take horror into a different direction like It Follows did. And I 100% agree with her on that, where it's definitely traditional in a sense, but the way it was shot and the characters and the way it was written, it's definitely just keeps upping the level of it all. So for all that being said, I'm giving it a hard 5 out of 5. It had this movie come out last month before we did our mid-year review, which is up if you guys haven't seen it. This definitely would have been it. I think this is definitely in my top 5, if not top 10 for sure, this year so far.
Yeah, I mean, look, I 100% agree with you on that. Like, yeah, this is probably my favorite horror movie of the year. Just, edging things like Late Night with the Devil and The First Omen. I think, again, this is just, again, like when it comes to horror and it comes to comedy, it's all based on like your personal preferences. And this movie really does hit my personal preference. Like you mentioned, it does pay homage to those movies like Silence of the Lambs and The Seven. And I even got a little bit of Alan Wake 2 there for anyone who's played that game. Very much so, like the female FBI agent, investigating this like occult type stuff. Definitely loved that aspect of this movie. As you mentioned, Nick Cage puts a really great performance here. Like you mentioned, like you said, he comes at it like very much in his Nicolas Cage isms. But for this movie, it really works, and it does a good job of, again, getting under your skin, and it certainly worked for me. And I think Micah Monroe does feel the other side of that too, where her performance is a little bit more subdued, but I think she grounds this movie in a really like a great place where you feel that okay, she's a confident and capable person, but at the same time she's not safe either. She rides that line really, really well. So yeah, I mean, in terms of all the technical aspects, this movie's great too. As I mentioned, those performances are really good, and yeah, overall it's just a really awesome movie. I did have a few little nitpicks here, and mainly with the third act, not about anything that happened, just sort of when it felt like we got there, it's been a slow build up to that point, and it felt like it kind of just rushed to the end. I don't know how I'll feel about that on second viewing. I've only seen it once, and I do definitely want to check it out again to see if my feelings on that sort of changed. But as of right now, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 4 out of 5. Just that little aspect of me that knocked it down like a touch, but still one of my favorite movies of the year, and like you mentioned, one of my favorite horror movies in recent years. Don't believe the crazy overhype, but just go into this movie expecting a really solid horror movie that just gets under your skin for 2 hours and leaves you just like looking at things around you like with a little bit more suspicion, and that's the kind of horror that I really enjoy.
There were a couple of moments I felt like Cal Naughton Jr. with just the I think the house is haunted, man. I'm scared, and just just looking around like, oh shit. So, but that, like I said, yeah, I definitely agree with you, and that's a very fair critique there, Burn. For those of you who did happen to catch it, please let us know what you thought of it, because we'd love to know, especially for all of our horror fans, or anyone who's into horror. We'd love to get your thoughts on this too. But like I said, everyone, we got more content coming for you as the year goes on. Acolyte's almost over. House of the Dragon is halfway through ish. No, it's getting there. It's almost done.
It will be this week.
Yeah, it's getting there. And then we got oh my god, I can't think of what else. The Boys is almost over as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, because the Bear's already one and done, so we already finished that. But until next time, everyone, just stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.